Fear Coded, a podcast where we talk about media from the horror genre and take a queer reading of a single book, video game, film, podcast, or TV show to explore just how queer horror can be. In this episode, we are continuing Doll-cember, a month all about the toy dolls you don't want as a gift for the holidays, with the Twilight Zone episode, Living Doll. I'm David.
I'm Marilee.
And I'm Tyler.
And we want to thank all the bats in our belfry for being part of our amazing community by supporting our Fear-Coded Patreon. Thank you to Will, Knight of Cups, Doug, Jacob, Alyssa, Blake, Puckish Rogue, Tyler, Derek, Maureen, and Tommy. Now, before we enter another dimension, I want to check in with my co-host to see how things are going for them in a landscape of horrors that our real world has to offer. What is making y'all scared, or what is making you feel prepared?
Gain, I'm feeling very inspired with fear based off of our previous episode and our wonderful guest, Derek.
Intense.
We spent some time talking about public transit and how there may or may not have been some pro-car propaganda in Child's Play.
It's everywhere.
And everywhere. And today, folks, I am feeling it. I miss having two cars or reliable public transit, a thing I've never gotten to experience.
Yes. Yeah.
So when we moved from Florida to Ohio, I realized that, okay, we should probably just go down to one car. We have one nice car and my car, which was like pre-owned, pretty old, and I could sell it to my grandma.
Yeah.
I did, got a little bit of money out of it. All's good. But now that we live in a place where we have lots of friends, lots of places that we want to go, and Marshall no longer works from home, they're using the car a lot. And now I am struggling to allow myself to be picked up and not a burden. I'm not thinking of myself as a burden, but just to be the person that will get shuffled from one place to another if need be.
Mm-hmm.
But also just oh shoot, now I'm starting to realize that places I want to drive to would be a lot more convenient if I had my own car to do that with. Preferably though, we would have some sort of train or long distance bus or something that would get me from one place to another. But unfortunately, Ohio doesn't really have good, reliable public transit. And it used to have good, reliable train service way, way, way back in the day. But they do not have that now. That might change in the near future. We can always hope. But in the meantime, I am a little bit sad and so a little scared that I am having to deal with being carless in a car-based society.
I understand this. And I fear. I share this fear because when we also moved down to being a one-car family and lived in downtown Denver, life was fine. Whatever. Walk to a grocery store. Fuck, they opened up a Whole Foods right across the street for me while we lived there. But when we moved to the burbs, things got a little bit more isolated for your boy over here. I did, look up how to take the bus to the train and take the train into the city. Pro or con, we bought our house and then COVID happened. So none of that was going on. And, but I feel you, Tyler, it's a weird thing to go from the sort of freedom of being able to get everything you need and want to then no longer being able to have it. Now you said inspired by fear though. Are you just trying to avoid being the S word or?
Oh yeah, no, I'm scared.
Oh,
my fear was inspired by the previous episode. But now I am full of fear. Or
I got it.
The adjective, scared. I'm scared.
I thought maybe your inspiration was coming as far as some sort of activism for better buses or whatever, and that you were actually like bearing the lead on a preparedness. But no, the scared makes total sense.
Yeah, I get that.
I am following and supportive of the public transit, public train system that is trying to get a movement going in Ohio. It would be really nice to have a train that goes from Chicago to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, and then other train paths, rails that will go throughout the state of Ohio. But unfortunately, we don't have that yet. Maybe someday. I feel more confident about it happening here in Ohio than I would have in Florida, even if the chances are still pretty slim, unfortunately, with the current political everything.
Yeah. It's more likely for you in there than where you used to live, or for me, even though we keep trying to be hey, but what if we had more buses and trains? And it just keeps not happening.
We got to move to New York. Mom Donnie's going to make all the buses free, and I'm into that.
Yeah, the problem, of course, with where you both live is that these communities were designed without cars in mind, or with cars in mind, and so it's hard to design a bus service for something that was designed for personal automobiles. And where it's really killer is trying to figure out how to get you the last mile, because good public transportation can get you a lot of places with a pretty easy facilitated design, but getting you to the actual destination you want to get to gets so much harder for that last mile.
That's so real. That makes total sense.
So real.
David, that has me wondering, with your brilliant mind, is that brilliant mind feeling prepared or scared today?
I wish that I could say that I'm prepared because I live in such a wonderful public transit mecca.
All right.
But it is not bringing me preparedness today. No, in fact, I am scared. I'm scared of something Tyler's been scared of recently. I'm scared of the cold. But here's the deal. I'm not actually scared of the cold, because what is it here? Like 12 degrees. It's like mid 50s. Like, please, it's not cold. But I have changed, and I feel like I've lost my Michigan cred, because when we moved here, little old ladies were coming out in parkas when it was like 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Get out of here. It's fine. And we were in shorts and a t-shirt. But last winter, we did have to turn the heat on, which was surprising. And already I can start to feel myself being too cold. I'm a little cold baby. I plugged in my electric blanket because I need it to protect me from the cold, because I'm just a little itty bitty baby who can't handle it. God, I hope this voice stops soon.
I can't. It's killing me. You have to stop.
Just a widow baby. Little cold feet.
It's so cursed. Oh no. It's
very
so
bad.
I'm talking David, and I love you.
I'm going to throw you in a bag in the trash.
But again, it's not actually the weather that's impacting me. It is the belief that because I grew up in Michigan and have lived through like some pretty intense and terrible winters, that I should be affected by a place that, if it got below freezing, would literally lose its mind. And like, even where Marilee is, it gets cold. Like it doesn't stay cold, but it gets cold in your part of Texas. And Tyler, I know Ohio's new to you, but you have been in cold weather. The idea now that I live in a place that is so moderate and temperate that my body has now acclimated to be like, ooh, I'm afraid of high 40s. That is wild to me. I was a child who was required to learn to live in the snow. What is happening? What is happening to me, friends? What is happening to me?
It's all that socialized healthcare and whatnot in Spain. It's made you soft, David. Soft.
All the olive oil. I have no more fat reserves because I'm eating good oils all the time.
It's just mostly olive oil in your bloodstream now.
No, cut me open and put some bread in it.
I don't know how to feel about that transition.
You're doing so many sounds today, David. So many voices. I'm into
Are you coming for Tyler's bit crown?
I'm coming for the bits. I'm coming for him, Tyler.
Oh, you'd better not do that, governor.
Wouldn't it be lovely? Marilee, what about you? Are you feeling scared or prepared today? And don't base your answer on how utterly ludicrous we are both being.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a little bit scared of the energy we've brought into the space today. But no, I'm going to say that I'm prepared.
Yes.
There is a piece of media that has been really chomping and taking up a lot of brain space for me for the past couple of weeks. And this is my show and tell area. I've trapped you here with me. I'm going to talk to you about my special interest now.
I'm ready.
It's a video game called Dispatch.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Tyler knows. The idea is that you are a superhero. You had like this metal suit. And then your suit is broken, and so you have to take over a job where you're basically a 911 operator for superheroes, where you like dispatch them out, and then it's like your character is interacting with all of these supervillains turned superheroes, and it's so good. I love it so much.
Okay, I had heard of this because I was invited to be on my friend's podcast, the Smashing Game Time podcast, and they talked about it, and I opened a picture, and I had completely forgotten that interaction when Marilee said dispatch. I did the exact same thing, which is I just Googled dispatch video game, and it brings up this picture of this giant man, and I just think all I want is this giant man. I will play this game because of this giant man.
Yeah, that's Phenomenon, I'm willing to bet. And he is voiced by Travis Willingham, and he's great. I think you'd like him very much.
Delightful.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing about this video game. Kind of like Date Everything, this is stacked with an incredible voice cast of voice acting legends, and then Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad is I think you're the main protagonist. This is the character.
Yes, he is. He's Robert Robertson III.
Incredible.
Who's my special little guy, my absolute blorbo. Love him so much. It's a funny story. Apparently, Aaron Paul is. I don't watch Invincible because What If Superman But Bad is just so draining as a concept. I just don't interact with it. Yeah. Even though I know that Invincible is actually very good. Apparently the vocal casting person cast Aaron Paul on Dispatch, and he did such a good job. They were also the casting person for Invincible. They like got him for that gig over there, which I think is so funny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, the voice cast is so stacked. The animation is incredible. The story is really great. Unlike Date Everything, there are only 2 romance options, and they are both straight. So apologies to all queer people who look at Robert Robertson and be like, that's a bisexual king. Because he is. And they just simply, we have to choose between... A lot of people call Dispatch the HR violation simulator in a very fun way, because you're either trying to date your boss or one of your employees, because they're one of the heroes.
No.
Yeah.
The romance options do sound like they were written by straight people, so I guess that checks out.
Listen, I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of fan things that correct this mistake that the game made, and a lot of people being like, okay, but what if we could romance any of these other people? And I love and support all of that. Here's the thing, I just love the game world. I love the game characters. I think that it's all so delicious, and I'm having such a great time. I'm thriving. I'm enriched. This is perfect for me.
I love that. I love that.
Now very excited to play this. I was already excited, but now I'm moving it up in the priority list, and hopefully it'll be on sale soon since it's the holidays.
Yes, that's the thing. I did not play it myself. I watched a couple streamers play through it, and because again, I've been waiting for it to go on sale, and I'm very excited to be able to actually play all of the game myself, because I know exactly what choices I would like to make, but I'm very interested in the actual gameplay mechanic of sending the different superheroes out to different jobs, because that seems so interesting, like the way that you have to like match it up, and like the way that things that work. It just looks really fun, and I can't wait to do it.
Agreed.
I love that. I looked up the person that you said, Marilee. That is not truly and honestly a great pick for me. But you must have a coworker who stands next to you at a urinal. That is the picture that I keep seeing.
Oh yeah, no, okay. That's Royd. Royd is the king. He is one of my favorite characters. I love him so much. This beautiful, beautiful, handsome, fantastic Samoa man who is one of my favorite characters, and unfortunately also not a dateable option.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, dateable in my heart, perhaps. Just again typing in dispatch game Royd. We're just gonna bookmark this for later. This probably will end up on Reddit, based on past conversation.
Yeah, no, he is definitely introduced at the urinal, so that is a weird choice that they made there as well. But he's
already
he's a lot
like
of fun.
I feel like this is gay baiting, because I know many gay men who have found partners at urinals. So
thank you. Yeah,
perhaps a cruising simulator. We need one of those.
Well, we don't need a cruising simulator for today's conversation, because today we are talking about the Twilight Zone. Could you imagine Rod Serling narrating the introduction to a cruising episode of the Twilight Zone? I'm obsessed with this in my mind now.
I would like to.
But now I can also see Rod Serling cruising, and I'm not horrified by this thought.
I don't hate it. But we are talking about the episode of The Twilight Zone, Living Doll, written by Jerry Soule, with credit to Charles Beaumont, and directed by Richard C. Serafian. This is our oldest produced entry in Doll-cember, and it looms large over the other entries like last week's Child's Play. Talky Tina is the doll opponent to Arbogast School of Portly Gentlemen dropout Eric, played by the intimidating Telly Savalas. She may not run around with a knife like Chucky, but she is just as, if not more, threatening.
The doll for Talky Tina is a 1959 briquette. Don't hear that name used too often anymore. Produced by the Vogue Doll Company. Talky Tina is based on the Chatty Cathy doll, which was a popular doll at the time of the show's airing, and I think is still pretty commonly known throughout doll kind. Famous voice actress June Foray actually voiced both Chatty Cathy and Talky Tina. Insane, right? David is giving me a shocked look right now.
Isn't that Rocky the Squirrel?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. The 50s. This is wild. This poor woman.
Foray provided voice acting and dubbing in other episodes of The Twilight Zone in addition to playing Rocky of Rocky and Bullwinkle, including in the series finale, The Bewitching Pool, where she does a hella Rocky accent and Rocky voice. But
Nice.
Frustratingly, she has been uncredited for all of these performances.
Crime. Right to jail.
Crime!
Right to jail.
Oh, I hate that. We covered another couple episodes of The Twilight Zone in our first season. We seem to be sticking with episodes all about toys, which is a weird niche that we found ourselves in, but I'm into it. Rest assured, dear listener, we will not be toying with you. What's everyone's experience with the living doll? And do you have any other experiences with The Twilight Zone that we didn't cover on our first go-round?
You know, it's interesting. This was the first time I watched this episode. And I feel like I've seen a lot of The Twilight Zone, but I know that I have not seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a big blind spot because I did a pretty thorough job of analyzing where things came from The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
And I breezed right through a few of the Treehouse of Horrors just because I knew that they were all like famous Twilight Zone episodes. And immediately after watching this episode, I turned on Treehouse of Horror 3. Because watching this after seeing that, it felt like so much of it was lifted directly from the parody. It's not quite as so much was lifted. There's plenty of other stuff to enjoy in Treehouse of Horror 3. But wow, there are a couple lines that are just literally cut and paste from this. And that was pretty wild to see. But this is my first time and I had a blast with it.
Yeah, this was also my first time watching this episode. Again, as we discussed last time we talked Twilight Zone, it's a bit of a blind spot for me. I've seen a couple episodes here or there, but never really like made a real attempt to listen or made a real attempt to like dive in and watch a lot of episodes. At the end of last episode, I said, I'm going to watch more Twilight Zone. And then, listener, I did not do that. I promise I'll be better next time. But this episode, like Talky Tina, her shadow looms so large through fiction, like inspiring particularly one of my favorite one-off episodes of the X-Files, Chinga. But I hadn't ever seen this episode before.
Yeah, and you know, I have seen many Twilight Zones. I think I'm our Twilight Zone expert here. Talky Tina is one of the mainstays in my family household during New Year's Eve, and Sci-Fi used to also show Twilight Zone on 4th of July. I don't think they do that anymore. But this was one of the episodes that was like, okay, we got to set the DVR so we can record it and watch Talky Tina whenever we want. Same thing with like Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, the Beauty's in the Eye of the Beholder, you know, that episode. But what's funny about this is that I really associate this episode heavily with my mom, and Twilight Zone in general with my mom. I always laugh hysterically whenever Talky Tina threatens Eric. And I think that is mostly because of my mom, who would get genuinely scared by Talky Tina, and she would laugh whenever she would get scared because she would just
like
go
a defense thing. Yeah.
like that sort of thing.
That's
And so
cute.
oh, it's very precious. So now I always laugh whenever I see Talky Tina and she's talking about some shit with Eric. My mom is really cute though. Whenever she gets scared during the Twilight Zone, she whimpers like a little baby during Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. I recorded a video of her doing it one time, and she was very upset.
Yeah, that one's like capital S scary.
Yeah, that's like the scariest episode of Twilight Zone.
This is very psychologically scary, I think, but I don't know that I would say that this. I mean, I have a doll thing. We talked about this last week. I don't like them. I think they're creepy. Talky Tina was maybe of the month I will forecast the least scary. But let's reevaluate when we get done with the month. But I think she was a little bit more psychologically scary than she was like menacing. I'm worried about her killing me.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I just think that this was a really fun episode. If you
Yeah.
have Paramount Plus, when you go log on to watch the Twilight Zone, there's like the regular drop down of all of the seasons and episodes and stuff. And then underneath that, they had like the Legends of the Twilight Zone. And it was like 10 episodes that people like, these are the really famous ones. And The Living Doll is the last of that set. But it's got like Eye of the Beholder, Time Enough at Last, 20,000.
Yeah, those are the classics.
Yeah. So
that's it's wild then that I hadn't seen this because I probably have seen all the I didn't see that option, Marilee. That's fun.
Yeah, no, it just give it a good quick scroll down. Again, I knew this episode was a big one. I had heard of it before, and again, and like her impact huge. But I don't think I had seen it before, which I'm glad that I've rectified.
Yeah.
Same. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the themes for today's episode. So our very first theme is Family Matters. Before we dive into the scary doll of it all, it's important to go over the family structure that's at play within this episode. So Annabelle had her daughter, Christy, from a previous relationship, although we don't know the specifics of that relationship. Annabelle went on to marry Eric Streeter, and Annabelle says that she knows that Eric got, quote, more than he bargained for, referring to herself and Christy. Eric appears unwilling to get closer to Christy, although Christy only refers to him as daddy, which Eric eventually insists is wrong. He's not her daddy. Based on Annabelle's behavior regarding the doll's purchase and her tiptoeing around Eric's emotions, it's easy to see that this is an abusive relationship with Eric as the abuser.
All right, I want to start by saying that Eric, like the start of Chucky, there was a fake out here, because at the very start, one of the first thing Eric says is he disparages Freud. And I was like, well, this is the hero. This is the hero of the episode. But it turns out that he was just like being hyper masculine and like hating all therapy. And that's a little less cute. It was much more cute when I just thought he had like specific views on Freud.
Yeah.
And then it fell apart.
Freudian analysis was such a big part of like Twilight Zone and sci-fi during this time. Like just anything that was written in like these 50s, 60s post-nuclear era, I think had a lot of Freudian stuff going on in it. So when Eric tells Annabelle to not give him any of that Freudian gibberish about therapy, like with David, I that pricked my ears because I don't think I ever really noticed that before without actually like actively listening to the episode. But what's interesting is that Eric like falls for like a Freudian trap essentially because he confesses that he thinks Annabelle doesn't want him as a husband or a father because he's not able to get her pregnant, which really seems like a Freudian assertion.
Yeah. Very much. Like their whole relationship seemed so strange to me. Like I don't know what the deal is here because again, if we're supposed to understand that Annabelle is a widow, that he is like her second husband and like this is the daughter from his previous relationship, how could he not know that the daughter exists? So like how could he be surprised with this 2-for-1 deal? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like so honestly, I've spitballed a little bit here. Who knows what is the truth? But like the only ways that I could feasibly think of where Christy would be a surprise, as well as he knows that this is not actually his kid, where he can be very firm about that, is like either Annabelle cheated very early on in their relationship, and they chose to stay together, and he knows about it, or did they only have like a 2-week courtship before they rushed into getting married and she was pregnant by a previous relationship?
See, and I read a lot of Annabelle's thing as her just having low ego and saying like, well, I know you didn't bargain for the both of us. It never seemed like Eric was like literally surprised that there was a child, more that him and Annabelle once must have had something that connected them to be unified. But like we don't even know what happened to Christy's father, right?
No, like revealed? We know that like Eric isn't, but whoever the father is and whatever relationship Annabelle had with him, we get nothing on. And like I do think it's very easy to read Eric as abusive in the situation, and like if he took on a single mother and like married her specific for whatever reason, because being an unwed mother, it'd be very bad in that time period. Like, these are all things that you could like throw at it. I just think that the idea of him and his relationship, like soon as Talky Tina shows up, I feel like you could read this episode as like he's just going crazy.
Oh yeah.
Um
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and their Talky Tina was just a doll the whole time. And that's all fits really nicely in this area.
Well, and I think that's why you make Eric a stepfather and not a father,
Mhm.
because you need to create some reason for him to find psychological distress over not feeling part of the unit that is Christy and Annabelle.
Right.
And you do that by making, he could have been an uncle, but then why is he there all the time? A stepfather is a really good way of using this. I mean, the 50s of it all kind of fucks me up a little bit to think about, like, what that means with all this. Like, it would make a little bit more sense if Annabelle was a widow, but again, we don't really know what the background is here.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really matter, because ultimately what it is Eric is not as close to these two as these two are to each other. And
Mhm.
of course he's not. They're mother-daughter, and he is a new force in this. And that ends up serving the story so well that I did like it and didn't ask any more questions.
I'm sorry, I'm a born questioner. If there's a thing, I'm gonna
That's
ask a
good.
question about it.
That's a good thing though, Marilee, because I've seen this episode so many times. It actually does stick out to me as being like, I wonder what the relationship actually was. And I think it either has to do with like they had to take some stuff out because it has to fit a 22-minute airtime,
Mhm.
or it was just a little bit of sloppy writing and it didn't get caught in
Yeah.
the edit. But I
Yeah.
think, they're trying to also do like conservation of like narrative storytelling and stuff where they don't have to spell everything out. Like, I think we are already getting some of Eric's internality spelled out because he's deflecting from his own feelings and putting that on his family.
Mhm.
But I think it's still a very valid thing to call out, Marilee. But at the same time, I'm also with David, where it's just like, I don't entirely need to know the context behind the relationship. All I really need to know is that Eric feels like he will not let himself get close to the family because of multiple reasons, and the family, in spite of trying to get close to him, just cannot, because he is just this big wall.
Right.
Mhm.
So our second theme is the wind-up nightmare. So Talky Tina is our antagonist. She's actively harmful to anyone that isn't nice to her, although for almost the entire episode, that ire is directed at Eric. Talky Tina can't be killed. All attempts fail. She even escapes a trash can akin to Mr. Wood from Night of the Living Dummy. Talky Tina seems magical, an entity straight from the Twilight Zone itself, and she's scary. Her scariness is especially evident in contrast to the physically imposing Telly Savalas as Eric. If she can scare him, she's fucking scary.
Yeah. Yeah. We did a little bit of this last time with Maggie, right? That was the aunt
Mhm.
from Child's Play. Yeah, Maggie's sort of anxiety was so contagious in that film. And I get a little bit of the same here. When Eric starts to sweat, that's when I start to be like, oh shit, this is real. And it seems like the more he tries to destroy Tina, only the more powerful that she becomes. And that gives me anxiety as well. But I like, point blank, I love her. And she is like sort of the template for the month. Like, I'm really happy we started with Chucky, because I think he is the probably most famous doll. But this really actually felt like the mold that
Yeah.
we were taking the whole month from.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, again, her impact, her legacy, like we said with Mr. Wood and the Night of the Living Dummy stuff, every talking doll in our media is gonna come from like this terroir. Like, we found it. This is ground zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
I think part of what makes her like especially scary and especially influential is June Foray's vocal performance.
yes.
So like we kind of talked about this a little bit with what makes Chucky really scary in Child's Play, is that at one point he speaks and says something really sinister to Karen the mother, but he says it with the good guy voice, and that's very unpleasant until eventually it's Brad Dourif's voice and it's all craggly and stuff, and that's really scary too. But I think here it's especially scary because June Foray's voice is so innocent and just baby doll like.
Right.
So that when she says like these really menacing things, Eric even says no thing a doll should ever say. It has like an aura of menace to it that I think is really effective. I
Mhm.
also think that just like the audio that's used in this episode is like a real standout. The score is performed by Bernard Herrmann, and it adds like this level of menace from like the very beginning scene where
Mm-hmm.
we're pulling up to this really beautiful house in the suburbs, and it's got just this ominous like harp that's in there, and like some other instrumentation too, but it's already dripping atmosphere in a way that I feel like other Twilight Zone episodes don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's also Tina's wind-up key noise, which will consistently reappear, and it signals her presence in the scene without actually seeing her. So it's almost
Yeah.
like the shark music in Jaws.
I love that. And personally, I feel like the extra textural information that they got the person who actually performed the voice line for the Chatty Cathy dolls that were real, that people probably had in their homes to record and say these lines for Talky Tina. Like that's the gag. That's the move. I love that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's like if Siri started telling me to go fuck myself, like, which
Yeah.
she probably would with if she knows my opinions of Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. End of the month. End of the month, Tyler. We'll get to what if Siri was a doll. It's coming. You can't be stopped. But for now, we have to evaluate this piece of media in the same format that we consider all of the media that we cover on the podcast by asking two questions of it. The first of which is it horror? Were you scared watching the Twilight Zone episode Living Doll?
I was scared initially as a child.
Okay.
I don't think I was really too frightened, like as I've gotten older, and especially because I've watched it so many times. Now I'm just kind of like titillated by it. Like I find it
Sure.
really enjoyable. Like I don't know. I was thinking about this, when we were previously recording our Child's Play episode. Like why does Living Doll and Talky Tina work for me in a way that the original Child's Play and Chucky really doesn't? And I'm not really sure what it is. I think maybe it's like it's more like basic by means of like the technology at the time, the budget, everything else. So like with those constraints, maybe I find it like a little bit more frightening, but I also think it's kind of silly too. Like I think anytime there's a doll that's trying to kill you, it's kind of a silly concept. And so like part of me is still kind of entertained by that. Like I find the campiness in it, even if it's not like a particularly campy episode. But I don't know. I still find some entertainment out of it in a way that I don't know. For some reason, I just don't with like the original Chucky Child's Play.
That's really interesting. Because the thing about this that really stood out to me is the fact that like we say the doll is trying to kill you, but she doesn't. Like she cannot move on her own. She just has the voice box, right? And so like she kind of kills Eric because she trips him and he falls down the stairs, right? But like we never see that doll move. And I think that the question of can she move? Does she move? Because she gets out of the trash can on her own, but we don't see that. And I think that that's a fun tension, like like a Chekhov's gun that we don't see go off, which I do think really heightens the episode. And
that's a great point, Marilee.
Yeah, I agree with Marilee. I think that the horror is all psychological.
Yeah.
I think the doll is creepy. I mean the doll looks good, but it's not horrifying on its own because it is not scurrying. And I think if I learned anything from last week, the scurry really is the scariest part of these little things.
Yeah. Like Derek nailed it. Large spider, small dog scurry.
Totally.
Is that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, so I think that it ends up working at a psychological level, which then I will say was accompanied with some pretty perfect psychological horror visuals. We were doing a lot of great stuff with lights and gobos in this. Of course, we're doing black and white, and it's on film. This fucking looks just amazing. It is crisp. It is dark. You can see every bead of sweat on Eric. We are doing a great job with makeup on him. I think that the visual storytelling lines up with the psychological storytelling, and that all works. Just, I never have Talky Tina like brandishing a knife, which would also be scary, but then it would be campy. And that, I don't want that in this. There is, unless one of you is going to correct me, I didn't think like there was a lot of camp in this.
No.
This was played as a very, very straight scare.
Yeah. Because like, again, Chucky camp. Like, there's a lot of camp stuff there, and it gets campier as it goes on. But like the idea is the doll has a knife and is actively trying to murder you. I do think again you can read this episode completely like Eric is having a mental breakdown. And I like that it's not ambiguity. The Twilight Zone is telling you that this doll is evil. It's like you're in the Twilight Zone, supernatural stuff happens, but it could just be in his head. And I do like the tension of that.
For sure. I love that too.
I'm Talky Tyler, and I don't think I like you.
A Talky Tyler, just what I always wanted. But just in case this ad wasn't on your holiday wish list, you can enjoy an ad-free listening experience by joining the Fear Coded Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to early and ad-free episodes on your very own podcast feed. And there's extra special bonus content that begins at $3 a month. So consider joining today at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. Now don't worry, there's no lumps of coal waiting for you. We're not going to try to sell you a mattress that improves your spine or something. But if you'd like to skip ads just like this one, you can join the Fear Coded Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast and support queer artists for as little as $1 a month. Now, back to the dolls.
Yada, 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 horror, 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 whatever. To be on Fear Coded Podcast, you have to be more than scary. You have to be queer. So let's take a moment to really analyze this episode and work within the bounds of using queer theory. Like, is this queer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could easily analyze this episode through like queer theory and then its forebear gender theory. The fact that a girl-coded toy is able to defeat this powerful, threatening male presence is very much like gender turned around. We're really playing around with like what femininity can do and how it can possibly destroy toxic masculinity, which I find really interesting. But then Eric also perceives himself as constantly being emasculated, even when like the women, the human women in the story are showing nothing but love and empathy to him until he crosses the line. I think that's also really interesting too, because that's coming internally from Eric, not from any other outside source that's telling him, oh, well, you can't defeat a doll. What kind of man are you? It's nothing like that.
Right. Yeah, there's some pretty internalized shit going on for Eric. Again, for all the bashing of Freud he does seem to be a disciple of Sigmund. And he believes it so much that he's sort of living all of the consequences associated with that. And that, I think, is interesting for us from a queer analysis, because essentially what this is a reconstructed family. And so I would argue that in the 1950s, a stepfather is a figure that we could explore queerness through. But because of who Eric is and the toxicity that's sort of part of the core of who he is, he's sort of a queer denied in this moment. And so he becomes almost the enemy of queerdom. And then ergo, I must say that the hero of queerdom is Talky Tina. Totally. And like she ends up being then sort of our queer hero plate. And through that lens, we sort of analyze the conflict of the story. And I think that all comes down to Eric not dealing with whatever it is that is causing him to be repressed. And if he had done that, he could have been the hero of the day and we could have rooted for him. But instead, we do not.
Yeah, those are both really good, very smart polls. You guys are 100% right. I could make some dumb jokes about the doll, like the symbol of femininity, defeating the large man, so he has to like deal with the tiny girl inside him. But like, I'm not going to do that because you guys already nailed it. It's perfect.
She winks at one point in time. That's gay. We
wink. Yeah, no, like
we do.
I support women and queer people's wrongs. And I think that Talky Tina is our queer hero and that we should all support her work killing this possibly abusive guy.
Yeah, and she has a key in her back that you have to turn so that she could speak. That happens to me. Marshall has to turn my key behind my back every time before we start recording.
Yeah, no, we see him. He's like cranking your key right now, right?
Oh yeah, cranking it good.
Wow. All of this is staying in. Of
course it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a supercut just for Marshall, where they can enjoy listening to the story of them cranking you out every day.
Listen, I was too ace for this sentence. I didn't realize it was gonna be a sexual innuendo until I was landing the thing, and I was like, oh shit, I've done this.
Believe it or not, I feel like the whole month is a smorgasbord of opportunities for us to make innuendos. Just this whole month has got so much potential.
It
But
really
I
does.
think it's time for us to dive in and start to discuss the Twilight Zone episode "Living Doll."
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Well, on a street in any town, USA, a woman and her daughter get out of a car in front of a fine house. The woman, Annabelle, tells her daughter, Christy, to take her doll upstairs to her room so that her father doesn't see it. Inside the home, we see a man named Eric catch the family arriving. When Eric asks Christy what's in the box she's carrying, what's in the box? Annabelle answers that it's a doll. The couple go back and forth about buying Christy the doll because of the price and because Christy, quote, doesn't need another doll. Wow, I was so anticipatory to find out how much this doll was, and I was denied satisfaction in this scene in an incredible way. I just wanted them to say like $200 for a doll so that I could do my little like inflation calculator math and come onto the podcast with a statistic, but no, they never said a price. Ugh. So
you could do some homework about like the Chatty Cathy doll and see if there's like an equivalent price there.
That's what I should have done. I didn't do that. But you know what? Go back and listen to Tale of the Dangerous Soup if you want money conversion stuff. Christy reveals the doll to the family. Her name is Talky Tina. Christy winds up the doll, which tells Christy she loves her. When Annabelle and Christy leave, Eric winds up the doll, and the doll says, My name is Talky Tina.
And I don't think I like you.
So
what a
great.
start. What a start. What a start of an episode. This is great. We're in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm. So like I talked about this at the start with like we pull up to this very nice house and the ominous music is playing. I think it's such a great choice to then enter the house and we see Eric from behind. So he's just like this kind of presence in the foreground that's just this Telly Savalas for any listeners who are not familiar with who that is. He was a famous actor back in the 60s, 70s. I believe he played Kojak, the Night Stalker, who is kind of like a detective of the night. But he is big, bald, and he's wearing like this white shirt that can like kind of barely contain his muscles. Like he just seems like a very intimidating presence, and he talks with this deep, gravelly voice. So when he says she doesn't need another doll, it's very intimidating. It's very ominous.
And like speaking of him being intimidating, like he is at a desk that is set up right by the front door. So like he is sitting in a place that nobody can go in or out of the house or up or down the stairs without making direct eye contact with him. And like that's such like a power position to put yourself in while you're policing your family. And it's I can't get over like that position that you just get weird vibes from him immediately. And then he starts interrogating Annabelle, which, by the way, if you're keeping track, this is the second time this month that there's something that we talk about that directly leads into our next episode. Watch for a Megan or something in the next episode. But the vibes are bad immediately.
And I think that we're meant to read Eric as a villain, and he is.
Yeah. But
it also does seem like Annabelle is making decisions that have not been agreed to in the family.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm also interested in sort of digesting why that is and what's going on, because she brings up that like Christy's not doing well and maybe this doll will help her. I'm so curious about that. I don't get any time with that, which is fine. Like when you create a world, you don't get to know every single part about the world. But I do find a couple of these whiz right on by, and I'm like, oh wait, what? That was kind of interesting.
Like, Annabelle is holding like 3 wrapped packages. Like if they're doing so poorly financially, what are those? How come he doesn't care what those things are versus the one box that Christy is holding? And also, he says that she has too many toys, but when we look into Christy's bedroom, maybe because it's just like the way that the room is shot and framed, but it looks like it's just a bed in a space. There's no other toys that we see.
Yeah.
So like, does she have too many toys? Like, what's going on here?
Marilyn's exactly right. I expected to go up to that bedroom and have it be like Poltergeist. I thought it would just be flooded with toys. And I was like, well, yeah, girl, you don't need another doll.
But they're nothing. There's nothing. There's literally nothing in her room
Yeah.
except for a bed that we see. Maybe there's a wall of toys like on the fourth wall, but we just don't get it.
In the foreground, there's like some like children's decor, like that like from like the late 50s, early 60s. So it's mostly just like porcelain, like clowns and shit, or like a statue of a horse. Just nothing that a child could play with.
No.
And certainly nothing that she can like sleep with if she's a little girl. Like she needs like a doll or a teddy bear or something. And Talky Tina ends up being that thing that she needs. And like one of those mentions that David was talking about was Annabelle saying like, oh, like she kind of needs this doll so she can get the love and affection, according to her therapist. That then Eric immediately says like, oh, I'm not giving her affection and love because I'm the mean stepfather who's incapable of all that.
Right. Before we move off of Savalas, I'm just gonna say when he showed up, I was like, oh my god, it's fucking Blofeld from James Bond.
Oh shit, yeah.
Is he really?
I do recognize him as Kojak as well, but that was the immediate thought that I had, just because he's I think the most Blofeld in this, and in Kojak he's got a little bit more going on to him, but he's just like a big intimidating bald dude, and he wasn't Blofeld changed a million times, not a million times, like 3 times. Listen to the Q Division for more on that, but like that is what I remember him as. He was the sort of in between Blofeld from the Les and B Bond.
Well, Eric tries to confront Annabelle, believing that she's pulling a trick on him. Annabelle denies it. Annabelle instead talks about how she and Christy want to make him happy, and that Eric really could love Christy if he only gave himself half a chance. The family has dinner. Eric accuses Annabelle of buying the doll because Christy doesn't get love from him. Annabelle and Christy leave the table, and Eric begins to toy with Talky Tina by holding a match to her nose. Tina, turns out, experiences pain. Talky Tina will remember this, and says that while Tina can't be hurt for real, she knows she can hurt Eric. Eric's paranoia deepens, and when he searches for Christy, he finds Talky Tina in the garage. Talky Tina says that Eric will be sorry, as he puts her in a trash can.
Wow. All right, let's just start at the beginning. This is we toyed with a little bit of this like mommy doesn't love me enough that Eric is going through here, but it really is this I feel abandoned by this family situation, and that seems to be where all of this is coming from, and where Tina's psychological manipulation will also be working off of, because that's the fracture for Eric.
Yeah.
And like Eric just keeps saying things that aren't supported by anything else in the narrative. He keeps saying a bunch of stuff about like how Annabelle and Christy are treating him, and Annabelle's sitting there in the scene being like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's really good writing, I feel like, and greatly performed.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's exceptional writing, especially for like Twilight Zone episodes have so many wonderful episodes. I think this is one of the standouts, like top 5. And part of that is because of the writing, and we get a lot of depth of character in this, especially from Eric, because he's really is falling into all of these Freudian traps of just, he can't get Annabelle pregnant, which seems to me to be like the ultimate core thing that he can't get over. Because society, especially in this time period, says, well, if you are a man and you are married to this woman, you are supposed to have a baby with her.
Right.
And if he can't do it, he feels he's emasculated and he's not a man in society. And he's deflecting that and putting that anger from himself towards himself onto the family. And it's preventing him from loving Christy as the daughter that she is, because she is not technically his daughter.
Right. But it's all internal for him, as you both have said. None of this is coming from the two of them. It's not like Christy is turning to him and going, you're not my dad. Because in fact, she's doing the literal opposite of that and calling him daddy and treating, for all intents and purposes, treating him like her father.
Yeah. And she even will like apologize to Eric for like making him upset. And it's like, girl, you have nothing to apologize for. This was Eric's fault.
Yeah.
And it's just like, God, that family dynamics from the 60s, mama. Like,
Ugh.
Why are you beefing with an 8-year-old, Eric? Like, what's going on?
Right.
Confront the demon inside, my man. Confront it inside.
But not
Well,
in a Freudian
that's-
way. Not in a Freudian way.
That's kind of
I
Talky
mean,
Tina, though.
Listen, that is exactly Talky Tina. And listen, I am on record of being a very anti-Freudian practitioner, but I wouldn't have hated Eric to meet with a Freudian. Like he does need to deal with a little bit, because that he's living so much in the past that he couldn't do Rogerian therapy. Also, it would be a little while before that came onto the scene. But Tyler's right. Talky Tina then ends up embodying some of the negative self-talk that Eric's got going on. And that, I mentioned it before, that is how she drives the wedge in his sense of reality, and that's what makes him dissociative towards the end of the episode.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, later, while Eric is eating walnuts, Christy asks where Talky Tina is. Eric does the whole ask your mother thing, it's the 50s, only for Annabelle to walk in from another room saying that Christy had actually already asked her. When the two leave to go find the doll, Eric answers the phone, and it's Talky Tina.
That was a gag.
It was a gag. It was great. And she says, "My name is Talky Tina, and I'm going to kill you."
Love it.
When Eric checks the trash can, he finds that it's empty. He tells Annabelle that he put Talky Tina in the trash, and Annabelle is horrified and hurt. Eric realizes that Annabelle couldn't have been the one on the phone. So he goes upstairs and he finds Talky Tina covered in soot and garbage, by the way. I would not be hugging this doll in my bed personally. But like he finds her in bed with Christy asleep. Talky Tina, he wakes her up, and Eric takes that doll away from this girl. It's awful. Christy, crying, pleads with him not to take it, calling him daddy. And Eric says, "I'm not your daddy." And he shouts and he goes back to the garage with Talky Tina.
Yeah, this is wild. It not that we weren't in Tenseville before, but now it is like very, 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 very much more tense. Like I've gotten to the point where now I am afraid a little bit for Christy. I'm afraid for Annabelle because I'm afraid of what Eric will do. And I'm a little afraid for Eric because he does seem to be losing grasp of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's just like this promise of violence that is so like about to crash through whenever Eric is in the scene, because as he loses touch with reality, or he becomes too aware of reality because Talky Tina is real and talking to him, that's a man on the edge, and a man that is also clearly got an abusive dynamic going on with this family, potentially could resort to physical violence, and that is extremely distressing. And I think it's in this moment because the Twilight Zone and Rod Serling were always really good about the people who really deserved it usually got their just desserts. I think this is the moment where, as an audience member, you are supposed to be like, okay, Eric is done for. I hope something really bad happens to him because he's clearly the villain.
Yeah.
And I, credit to the writers of this episode. That is a very effective means to do it.
Yeah. This is earned. There's nothing redeemable about Eric. There might have been in like scene 1, but that is so gone by now.
Yeah,
Totally.
Waking up your daughter, because that's who she is to him, and taking her toy away specifically, and then shouting, "I'm not your father." What the fuck?
Yeah,
like
it's pretty bad.
That's a lot.
I'm not your father was the line. I truly think.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting too that it was Talky Tina that woke Christy up, because she kind of knew like Eric's going to do this. Like, I'm going to make this man explode. And it works, and it kind of makes it even more menacing because this is another level of like, oh, maybe he's not having a break from reality. Tina actually woke up Christy.
Yep.
So Tina also has like, she can do things. She really can do things. She's a real thing and this is all really happening, which has to be very frightening.
Yeah, truly.
is this another Margarine thing? Did I miss that she woke him up? Did like she move or something?
She said, she just goes, Christy.
Right. Yes, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Eric tries many ways to destroy Talky Tina. A vice for her head, a blowtorch, and a buzzsaw. All attempts fail, and Talky Tina is unscathed. Annabelle confronts him, but Eric pushes her away. Eric puts Talky Tina in a sack, puts that sack in a trash can, and then puts bricks on top of it. Upstairs, Eric sees Annabelle packing her things. Eric tries to explain. The doll talked to him. Annabelle doesn't believe it, of course. Instead, she says that he's a paranoid neurotic and that he's filled with blind, unreasonable hate. Eric, realizing the stakes, says that he'll give the doll back to Christy. He retrieves Talky Tina from the trash can and returns the doll to Christy.
Too little too late. I think that she still should have left him, frankly. But
you're not the only one who thinks that.
Talky Tina agrees with you.
Yeah.
I think, David, just a moment ago, you said, like, Eric has gone beyond the point of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tina, as that demon that he must confront, is sealing the deal on that by saying, my name is Talky Tina and I don't forgive you. It is like June Foray still saying that in that kind of baby talk voice is so, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, it's just so like unnatural and so wrong. And it's chef's kiss. It's just so good, and it makes Eric and Telly Savalas' performance all the more vivid when by this point it's showing, like, I don't know what to do anymore. I simply cannot make a decision that will benefit me specifically unless I bring Talky Tina back.
Yeah.
And even when he does, Annabelle seems to kind of just be like, well, maybe, sort of, I can't promise anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, kudos to Annabelle. My goodness, what a wonderful, you know, steadfast woman to say that, especially in like the early 60s when this came out.
Yeah. And the thing that I think is really interesting about this set of scenes is, like, he is in his workshop where he has all of these tools that clearly is like his space that nobody else is allowed into. And he starts trying to fuck with this doll and can't do it. I think that, like, it's really a great contrast between this scene and, like, when he had the match at the dinner table. Like, Tina has gained power somehow, presumably from, like, the tension in the relationships. So, like, every time that she fucks with him, she gets a little bit stronger, and, like, her being unable to, like, be hurt in any meaningful way is so fucking chilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's constantly goading him, and I think, like, his inability to even slightly damage her, I think, melds well with him being unable to get Annabelle pregnant. If we're really looking at things in, like, a very Freudian sort of way, which I think the episode is encouraging us to do.
Yeah.
Like, those two things automatically indicate, like, it's just a second, like, layer upon layer of his feelings of impotence and unmasculinity.
Yeah.
He just can't succeed at any of his goals to confront this doll, to confront what is stopping him from being successful in this relationship, and ultimately what he blames it all on, which is his, like, poor swimmers. But, like, dude, you got a kid. You don't need a second one. You're fine.
Yeah.
You got
Be the dad that stepped up.
Seriously, be the dad who stepped up. And you possibly also have this doll that can operate a telephone. Put her to work in a telemarketing place.
Yeah.
Like, make some extra money for the family.
She could go be an operator.
She really could.
Yeah. They're always calling Klondike 5,
Yeah.
728, you know, so on and so forth.
Just a minute, doll. Let me connect you.
Honestly, a June Foray voiced operator, like, if she didn't do that, like, Hollywood missed out. And also missed out on giving her fucking proper credit.
Truly. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So that night, Eric hears the whirring motor of Talky Tina. When he goes to find it, he slips on the doll, which sits on a stair in the stairwell. Eric tumbles down the stairs, and the last thing that he sees is Talky Tina before he closes his eyes for the final time. Annabelle screams and goes down to find her husband's body. She picks up the doll, and the doll says, "My name is Talky Tina, and you'd better be nice to me." We depart the scene as Rod Serling narrates the closure of the episode.
Of course, we all know dolls can't really talk, and they certainly can't commit murder. But to a child caught in the middle of turmoil and conflict, a doll can become many things: friend, defender, guardian. Especially a doll like Talky Tina, who did talk and did commit murder in the misty region of the Twilight Zone.
Tina's last line is it's iconic. Like that is what I bought the ticket for entry for on this, and I was kind of waiting for this very Twilight Zone reveal here at the end.
Yeah.
And I that was probably the most chilling part of the episode, was really just saying like, this wasn't just Eric. My will dominate this household.
Yeah.
Forever.
It was I also was very reminded of Chinga in like this moment. Like this is where I was like, I've seen what they've done here. Neither of you have any recognition, but that's one of my favorite little dumb episodes of the X-Files. Scully is on vacation, she goes to Maine, there's an evil doll. It's so much fun.
Gotta watch it.
Yeah. And this particular bit really reminded me of that. On in the episodes, again, it's after the final narration, and then Rod Serling pops up again, and he gives like a little description for next week's episode, because I guess the TV guide hadn't been invented yet. And for whatever reason, him popping up as, I'm Humanman, an actor, Rod Serling, watch the next episode of my show. And like the transition between eerie specter of the Twilight Zone to Humanman made me laugh so fucking hard. I don't know if just my brain is broken or if you guys also thought that was funny.
Well, that's a good point, Marilee. And don't forget to join us next time as we talk about the we don't do this fucking thing every podcast episode, Marilee. Why you throwing strays at my boy Rod Serling here?
Listen,
I had more of a beef with the announcer. And now, Mr. Serling.
Now, the now is a little bit of a gag, but
yeah.
I don't mind him pitching next week's episode. Go for it, boy. Earn your bread.
Oh man. I just really love though that we have like such an iconic Twilight Zone twist.
Yeah.
With this ending, like this is the sort of twist that gets parodied. So of course it's in the Treehouse of Horror 3 from The Simpsons, but like the scary door in Futurama is also like, it plays constantly on this idea that every Twilight Zone ends with some sort of twist. And I think that this is a great twist because it means that everything that Eric experienced was all for real happening.
Right.
And now Annabelle is doomed to be nice to this doll. And, you know, we have other episodes of the Twilight Zone where people are kind of being held hostage by a character, and you have to treat it well. Like, you know, it's a very common refrain, but it's very effective.
Yeah.
And I really love this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes, and I'm so glad we got to talk about it.
It's good. And again, I can't impress upon everyone how good this looks from start to finish. The fall down the stairs is filmed very well. I don't know if that was... Did either of you get a sense if it was stunt or dummy or what?
I don't think it was a dummy.
I don't think it was a dummy either. It looked like a real person.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't tell if it was Savalas or if we might have subbed out it. There was a cut, but it could still have been Savalas, or if it was a stunt who came in to do it. As someone who's fallen down a number of stairs, I'm happy to report that I've never died from like a pretty soft looking fall, which is what makes me believe that it was Savalas. Now there's nothing wrong with it. It sold the story just fine. But I was like, you know, people trip on the stairs. Like that is a pretty common place to trip. But as he started to walk down the stairs, I did think in my mind, you need to hold the railing. You need to hold the railing. And when he wasn't, I was like, you're going to die. Like you really
had it coming, bro.
You're toast, man. Hold the railing.
OSHA, not pleased with that, man.
Truly.
But pleased with the overall construction of the house.
OSHA has nothing to do with households, Tyler. It is the Occupational Health Safety and Health Association. Administration.
Well, good thing we're talking about the Twilight Zone and not a podcast about OSHA.
Yeah, I would love a podcast about OSHA. I would call it OSHAT, and we would just tell stories about people who are OSHA violators.
Hold on, I'm into that.
Yeah. Hold on.
This is like a subtle spin-off pilot. Secret pilot happening right now.
Let him cook.
Well, we are not letting you cook right now at this very minute about OSHA. Instead, we have to ask our question now that the episode has concluded. How did we feel about Living Doll in terms of horror or queerness after our conversation? Do either of you have any other final thoughts for this episode?
Yeah, I wish we had found some more queerness in it. I mean, I had a great time with this, and I think there's a lot of queerness in Twilight Zone. I'm not sure Living Doll was my like primary go-to queer. It might be Monsters on Maple Street. I don't actually know that there's a deeper queer well from Twilight Zone that we could probably go to.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that one's so rich and yummy and full of good queer analysis.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a great time with this. I loved how much psychological analysis we did with this, and of course, like queer people have psychology, so like we own that.
I have a degree in psychology.
That's right.
And I'm queer.
That's right.
So.
There you go. And
Yeah.
I didn't get a degree in psychology, but practiced the art. So
Hey, wait a minute.
hey, wait a second. I was licensed and bonded. It's fine. I love Savalas. I loved the character of Eric for how complicated and kind of shitty he was, and he like ate it, and that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love Talking Tina. I just wish it was a little bit more queer. But the psychological horror was A++.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to try and find queerness in everything, and I think we had some really good conversations where you could discover queerness, but at the end of the day, this is like a 22-minute episode from the 50s, early 60s. There not going to be a lot of like queer text here for us to explore, and that's okay. I do think we found some really fun feminist themes, and of course, feminist theory and queer theory are, interlocked. So, that's a fun thing that we can talk about instead.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think though that like there is certainly queer things that are happening in terms of like the gender of it all. I think it just like, if it's a Venn diagram, I think I'm adding more slices or more parts of this to the feminist theory circle, as opposed to the queer theory circle. But I do think there is quite a bit in there in terms of like the overall family dynamics are obviously really fucked up, and in a typical nuclear family, which is what this is supposed to be, there should be more of like a delineation between who performs what role. And the fact that Eric fails in his masculine role, but Annabelle can upkeep hers, it definitely indicates that there is like some queering happening to this family element.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall it's much easier and much stronger to lay this at the feet of feminist theory. So I'm very excited that we can talk about this, and we can talk about these different perspectives on it. But as far as Twilight Zone episodes go, I definitely think Monsters Are Due on Maple Street is probably our king of queerness, or queen of queerness, just because it's about judging other people and the strangers and the people that we know, and putting false ideas on them. Like, that's, I think, one of the reasons why the Twilight Zone is so perennial or so eternal, is because we can find these themes that still relate to our modern day, even if they're not always going to be exactly what we would hope to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Tyler, it's been a hot minute since I watched it, but I do wonder if Eye of the Beholder would hold a little bit more queer analysis as well if I rewatched it with that lens. When I think about the big ones, I don't think 20,000 Feet is going to give me a real queer reading. It's going to keep me fucking up at night, but I don't think it's going to give me a real queer reading. But Beholder might. It might.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely a
we'll add
feminist.
it to the list.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Podcasty Merrily, and you better follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Fear Coded Pod.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can join the bats in our belfry and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. You can show your appreciation at one of 3 levels. Early and ad-free episodes are available for as low as $1 a month, and there is accompanying bonus content starting at the $3 level. This month, of course, we released that fated episode about Sugar Fiend Buddy, the elf in the movie Elf. And we are halfway through the essay series, The 12 Days of Sawmiss, which means we're on the rough end of Sawmiss because we are covering some real stinkers. But I hope you will stay tuned to figure out what on earth I will put on day 12, as there have only been a short film and 10 films in Saw. But you'll have to stay tuned to the Patreon to find out. That's patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast.
Fear Coded is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you'd like to listen to more queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of shows at glitterjaw.com. And now, David Arnold.
Join us next time as we play with a different Annabelle and dig into the movie Annabelle Creation, part of our ongoing month of Doll-cember. But for now, we will simply say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Do 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 do.
Oh, Chatty Cathy, oh, Mattel's famous talking doll. We pull the rings, and you say 11 different things. Let's play house. Please change my dress. We can change your dresses now, goodness knows.
Oh, I also have to say Talky Tina, not Talking Tina, which is what I
So
want
annoying.
to do
So
in
annoying.
my heart.
For nursery school, you're crisp and cool. For summer, there's a playtime set. In winter, brr, your collar's fur. In a coat as cute as you can get.
God, how much do I want to say The Living Doll? So
It's
much.
so annoying. The same thing happened to me when I was doing the Night of the Living Dummy. I kept on wanting to call it the Night of the Living Dummy.
It wasn't. It was Night of. God, people use what is that, an article? Use an article.
Yeah.
Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
stop
Yes, it's an
listening to
article.
Sean Parker and do not drop the fucking the.
No, this is the Fear Code.
Is a Chatty Cathy steakhouse. Watch out.
You'll find Chatty Cathy and her costume sets wherever toys are sold.
You can tell it's Mattel, it's swell.
Yep, here's your problem. Someone set this thing to evil.